The Lazy Crocodile's Endless Nap. Once upon a time in a sunny swamp lived a crocodile named Carl. Carl was not your ordinary crocodile, he was the laziest creature in the entire swamp. While other crocodiles would swim, hunt, and bask in the sun, Carl preferred to lie on a warm rock, snoozing all day long. The lazy days. Every morning, the sun would rise, and the swamp would come alive with the sounds of splashing water and chirping birds. But not Carl. He would roll over, yawn loudly, and say, "Why bother? The sun is too bright, and the water is too wet." His friends, the frogs, would hop by, shaking their heads. "Carl, you should really get up and enjoy the swamp. There are so many fun things to do," they would croak. But Carl would just wave his tail and mumble, "I'm busy napping." The Great Swamp Race. One day, the animals of the swamp decided to hold a race. The fastest animal would win a giant, delicious cake made of flies and swamp berries. Carl's friends were excited, and they encouraged him to join. "Come on, Carl. You've got to race," said Freddy the Frog, bouncing up and down. "Nah," replied Carl, rolling onto his back. "I'll just let you all have the cake. I'm too tired to move." Freddy sighed. "But Carl, what if you're faster than us? You're a crocodile. You can swim like the wind." Carl laughed. "Swim? Why would I want to do that when I can just stay here and enjoy my nap?" The race day. The day of the race arrived, and animals gathered at the starting line. There was Freddy the Frog, Sammy the Snake, and Lila the Lizard, all eager to win the cake. They looked over at Carl, who was still snoozing on his rock. "Hey, Carl. Are you coming?" called Lila. "Just 5 more minutes," Carl replied lazily, pulling a leaf over his eyes. With a loud whistle, the race began. The other animals dashed off, splashing through the water and leaping over logs. Carl didn't even open an eye. The surprise twist. As the race continued, something unexpected happened. The other animals got so caught up in the excitement that they didn't notice the big storm clouds rolling in. Suddenly, dark clouds filled the sky, and rain began to pour. "Oh no," shouted Freddy. "The swamp is flooding." The water rose quickly, and the animals struggled to stay afloat. They swam and hopped as fast as they could. But where was Carl? He was still snoozing on his rock, completely unaware of the chaos around him. The flooded swamp. As the water level rose, Carl's rock began to float. "What's going on?" he finally mumbled, waking up to find himself on a makeshift raft. He looked around and saw his friends struggling in the water. "Hey, guys! Why didn't you wake me?" Carl called out, scratching his head. "Carl! Help us!" shouted Sammy the Snake, who was trying to swim but kept getting splashed by the rising water. "Help? Why would I help when I can just float?" Carl replied, lying back down. "This is actually quite nice." The lazy rescue. Seeing his friends in trouble finally stirred something in Carl. "All right, fine. I'll help," he said with a yawn. He rolled off his rock and splashed into the water, causing a big wave that knocked over a few frogs. "Oops. Sorry." Carl chuckled, paddling towards his friends. "Just trying to be helpful." With a few lazy strokes, Carl managed to float over to Freddy, who clung to a lily pad. "Grab my tail," Carl instructed. Freddy grabbed on, and Carl slowly started to swim. But instead of swimming fast, he glided along, barely moving. "You know, this is nice," he said, closing his eyes again. "I could get used to this." The end of the race. Eventually, the storm passed, and the water began to recede. The animals were tired and wet, but they managed to reach the shore, thanks to Carl's slow but steady rescue. "Thanks, Carl," said Lila, shaking off water. "You saved us." Carl smiled. "What can I say? I'm a hero now. Does that mean I get cake?" The cake celebration. Once the sun came out again, the animals decided to celebrate with a cake-making party. They baked a giant cake made of swamp berries and flies, and everyone enjoyed a piece, even Carl, who managed to eat most of it while lying on his back. "Hey, Carl. You should join us more often," said Freddy. "You might actually have fun." But Carl just chuckled. "Why bother? I'm just going to take a nap again. All this excitement is exhausting." The endless nap. From that day on, Carl became known as the lazy hero of the swamp. He still napped most of the time, but occasionally, he would join his friends for fun and games. However, he never lost his love for sleeping. One afternoon, after a big lunch of swamp cake, Carl found a perfect sunny spot on the riverbank. He stretched out, closed his eyes, and muttered, "Just a quick nap." And so, Carl the lazy crocodile drifted off into an endless sleep, dreaming of swimming races and giant cakes, content in his peaceful, sleepy world. And that's how Carl learned that sometimes, even the laziest creatures can make a splash if only they could stay awake long enough to enjoy it. The end.
We wish you a beautiful adventure with amazing videos. Subscribe to the channel and be a friend of ours. We love my friends. Will soon meet our followers and share with your friends this beautiful experience.